What's up everyone, it's Arkansas Media Group here again. Today I'm doing a screen replacement on an iPod Touch 4th generation. The one here that's working has a cracked display and it's running iOS 6. And the other one is completely dead and it was donated by a friend, but the screen still works. So we're going to attempt to do this here. Here's a little $5 package from eBay, and it allows us to have all the proper tools and adhesive strips. So the first thing to do, we're going to go into time lapse for the rest of the video, power down the working one, and the dead one is one I'm going to start on, heating up the outside of the display to loosen any adhesive, and then here in a second we're going to pry it open. So the plastic case opening tool was not working very well, so I did have to switch over to a knife, which worked a lot better, as you can see. And once that is done, you can just pry it open with one of the guitar pick tools or whatever. And the display automatically undid itself as I opened it there, but there's still the other cable, which is very difficult to get to, and it requires almost a complete disassembly of the iPod. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the 8 screws. As you'll see here in a minute, I forgot to remove the last one, but it didn't pose an issue, so we're going to continue on here. My screwdriver was not magnetic, and I was trying to figure out how to get it out once it had been unscrewed, so you can see me using a variety of methods. The best way I figured out how to do it was just to pry it open with the knife. The tweezers are too small, so it didn't really work out. Here I'm just warming up the bottom again to make it easier. Again, you're going to be prying around the sensitive areas such as the speaker and the volume control buttons and the battery connector, so you want to make sure the adhesive is nice and soft so that you don't rip out any components and have to deal with that. But once that's done, it just slides out of place. It's kind of locked in on the right side, so pull it from the right to the left, and we have it completely removed now. And then was that last screw that popped out. The next thing to do is to remove the connector for the headphone port, and this one I actually discovered later. I completely ripped the entire thing out of socket, so this is no longer able to be used. And then remove the screw out the bottom there. And this one actually did come out all in one piece because I could not get the screw out, so I just removed the entire thing as one unit. So the next thing to do is to remove the top screws up by the display. There's 3 of them, and one of them I left in place on the camera because it was really difficult to get out. Next we're going to pry out the camera, but be careful because it's still attached. Next we're going to carefully pry up the logic board. Be careful because there's still several things attached to it. Just pry it out of the right side. Don't try and pry out the left side, or else you could undo your battery or something like that. But basically I'm just making sure it's unseated properly, and then a lot of these iPods have a copper banding around the connector, so that'll have to be removed by cutting the sides of it with a knife. So I did that off camera, and you can easily just pop down the display connector. You will need to remove that copper before reinstalling. Next, this is just a very quick time lapse of the other iPod being completely stripped down and doing the same thing I just showed, but less in detail. The glass did pop out in my face, as you just saw there, and the entire thing had shards of glass everywhere. So just be careful if you're removing a cracked display that it is most likely going to cause a huge mess. And now we are back to the same part. I'm just going to show the logic board popping up and removing the screen again. So after that, we're going to put back the screws in the opposite order that we removed them from. And the best way to do this is to have them lined up, as you can see at the top, so you know exactly where they go. Because you could put one straight through the logic board and completely break your device. So just be careful with the screws. I've got everything in, and I'm just popping down the screen without the new adhesive to verify that it will turn on. And you can see it's dead here, but in a second off camera it was giving me a white screen. And I looked up some of the ways to fix that, and I ended up just resetting by holding the home button and the power button for a few seconds, and it immediately booted up. This is after it's been shut down again, and I am popping the device open to put the new adhesive strips in. If you want your device to fit as flush as it did originally, you would need to scrape off all of the old adhesive, but this is just a fun project for me, and it's really difficult to do that without getting your device wet. So I just went ahead and scraped it off with the pry tool and then reapplied the new adhesive strips. A lot of them are difficult to get the other side off, so you'll see me remove stuff multiple times and put it back on. But after that is all done, you pretty much are done. Just power it up and make sure everything works as it should. And that is the end of the video. I powered it on right before I started pushing down on the adhesive, and as you can see, it's booting up just fine with no issues, and I did verify that everything was working as intended. So anyway, that's about it for me today. It's Arkansas Media Group, signing off. Thanks for watching today.